MarketWatch headline, jobless claims dipped to 3-week low of 191,000. Labour market still very strong. Hi everyone, I'm Zach with the Money Channel, and I think it's best that we dive into it. As an overview, last week the number of Americans who have filed for unemployment benefits decreased to 191,000, marking a 3-week low and indicating a strong US labour market. This decline follows a decrease of 1,000 in new applications from the previous week. Economists had predicted 198,000 new claims for the week ending March 18, but the actual numbers remained close to historically low levels. The decline was observed in 28 of the 53 US states and territories that report jobless claims, while 25 of them showed an increase, with Indiana recording the most significant change. The number of people who are collecting unemployment benefits rose to 1.69 million in the week ending March 11, reporting a 1-week lag. Although the continuing claims remain low, a gradual increase since last year suggests that individuals who lost their jobs are finding it difficult to find new ones. Despite the recent failure of Silicon Valley Bank and the Federal Reserve's decision to raise interest rates, the jobless claims are still not signaling any imminent danger to the US economy. However, it's crucial to monitor the trend in new jobless claims, which is one of the first indicators to show dangerous signals when the US is headed towards recession. Chief economist Joshua Shapiro of MFR believes that most companies are either still hiring or are finding other ways to cut costs rather than laying off their employees. Layoffs are expected to rise less dramatically than usual as firms try to avoid shedding workers who have been hard to recruit and retain. The strength of the labour market appears to be shielding the economy from recent strains, and so far, there is little sign of a trend of increased jobless claims. My co-workers are leaving for better opportunities left and right. I think something easily forgotten is the fact that we did lose a portion of the workforce to COVID. Whether that be actually passing or debilitating side effects after the fact, a ton of people retired early too. It's also a well-known fact that the US population is rapidly aging with no replenishment. I would be curious to see how many fresh grads we had coming into the workforce in 2000 versus now. I feel like the numbers are lower. Boomers leaving, skilled labour being more scarce, and COVID, all things that I think are contributing to this war for labour. I'm graduating with a mechanical engineering degree in a few weeks, and I've had my state engineering license for a while. 4 years of work experience working at Co-op at a DOE lab next to a Superfund site. I've gone through 3 resume revisions with feedback from mentors, professionals, HR, friends, etc. I'm approaching 200 applications, trying to do 10 to 20 per day. I've received 1 interview for a position that I really don't have the equipment experience they need. It's a strange market. Superfund sites are generally pretty protected from economic fluctuations, but seems like that may not be the case for this upcoming historical event. Fresh out of school is the hardest you'll ever have to work at getting a job. As bad as this story is, these application numbers are rookie status compared to myself fresh out of school in 2009. Really a great time to graduate. Keep working, you'll find what you're looking for. Graduated around the same time, set me back probably 5 years. I hear you 100%, which is why it's funny to hear so many people complaining about this job market when it's absolutely killing it in comparison. Hope people never have to find out what an actual bad job market is. Low-income service jobs are in high demand. Higher paying white-collar jobs are the ones being cut. Keep applying and looking for work. It might not be the pay you want or deserve right now, but it will build the resume. Keep applying. A ton of jobs only hire once you have a job already. When I graduated college, I struggled for a callback for pizza delivery. Once I had a job, I had no problem getting interviews. See if your college can help with career development or job placement. My first job after getting my technical degree was set up for me by my college. I think people often overlook this. The engineering market is booming now. No offense, but if you're not getting interviews, it means you're doing something wrong. You're absolutely right. Graduated in 2021 with a mechanical engineering degree, sent out 20 to 30 applications, got 3 offers. I didn't have much to show on my resume. I didn't have a particularly good GPA, not particularly smart or charismatic, no family connections, etc. I'm probably on the luckier side, but if you are sending out 100 plus applications and not getting any offers, you're doing something wrong. Employment is high, people are spending, the supply chain is slow but working better than it has in 3 years. Wall Street is still saying we're doing horrible and they need to cut costs. It's time to realize that the issues with the economy are due to big business. The consumers at the bottom are doing their part. We should all be collectively outraged at the price gouging that's been going on. Yes, we should. We shouldn't be outraged, we should instead take action. Don't buy overpriced overpriced products. In a marketplace of buyers and sellers, buyers should push back. Vote with our dollars. If consumers aren't willing to demonstrate elasticity to price, the increase will continue. I've absolutely been shopping for groceries differently. I'm not paying for Oreos at these prices. I can afford it, I just refuse. Been eating a lot of cookies made from scratch instead. I don't have fantasies of groceries dropping to pre-pandemic prices, but if I'm going to splurge, it'll be on something hot and fresh. Not dry packaged stuff that's used to be reasonably priced, you know? Spoken like a true American, just leave it to the markets. Tell individuals to apply individual solutions to systemic problems. Sorry people should be held responsible proportionally to the level of power they hold. Let me just stop buying food real quick. That's a bad faith argument. Stop buying overpriced food and start buying reasonably priced food. As a consumer, nobody is saying you have to eat eggs and whatever products went up 300% in the last year. Supermarkets sell tens of thousands of consumable food items. Choose the items that have experienced the least inflation. Oftentimes this is products that fewer hops in the supply chain. Stuff like Oreos and processed foods have many hops, and theirs went up a lot. You're telling me you can't pour a can of cream of mushroom and on a sale cut of beef into a slow cooker, walk away for 5 hours and come back to something that will taste better than McDonald's? I believe most consumers have the time, they just choose to spend it elsewhere, in the same way people don't have the time to exercise, etc. Yes, I am aware some people are unable to apply the substitution effect because they've exhausted that option because they are destitute. I know these individuals exist and they struggle, and my advice is focused on the 90% of consumers who still have an ability to still apply it. I am sorry my comment didn't focus exclusively and completely on the bottom 10% of consumers, and I still do not get why they want unemployment to rise to battle inflation. Seems so ass backwards and only caring about those who have a lot of money. The issues are due to the Fed and artificially low interest rates in the past. They've created a ton of inflation, people are spending, but they're going into debt to do so. People got addicted to cheap money, and the fact that people are spending the money as fast as they can make it to buy toys and irrelevant items. I don't know about that. Everybody I know is spending the majority of their meager wages on housing. I'm sure there are people buying new UTVs and jet skis, but for most of us, splurging is going out to a restaurant once a month. When covering rent makes up half to 3/4 of your income, you don't really have spare money for toys. Our governing bodies are in regulatory capture. I think we are seeing large detrimental side effects now. Wall Street has always been the problem with America, and the world, since we are the dominant reserve currency. How they've been such a big influence in everything, including politics, needs to stop. Wall Street is the problem. The Fed has two mandates: keep unemployment reasonably low, yet not too low, and keep inflation in check. The Fed is doing too good a job at unemployment, yet inflation is still too high. And that's because there's only so many things you can do with monetary policy. We should be pointing the figures at the other side of the equation: fiscal policy. We can't have a government that keeps spending multiple $1 trillion spending bills in a span of 3 years. The Fed isn't the one deciding that wages should be less than $15 an hour. The Fed isn't the one deciding rent for a one-bedroom apartment is $1,200 and up. Many of my friends have to live 4 to 5 people to a 3-bedroom apartment because the rent alone is 3/4 of their monthly income. That wasn't decided by the Fed. Corporations are posting billion-dollar profits while giving their employees pizza parties and raises below inflation. It's clear to see where the problem lies. It's not interest rates, it's hoarding at the top. The money is not trickling down, and we need to quit pretending that it ever will. The Fed obviously doesn't set prices for individual homes, but years and years of low interest rates and quantitative easing have absolutely driven up housing prices. This in turn drives up rental prices because building new housing can't keep up with the demand. There's other factors involved obviously, but don't pretend that the Fed doesn't affect it. Also, don't pretend that the government adding trillions in spending and sending everyone checks didn't impact it as well. You can't just claim big business did this. I'm a college graduate with work experience. I've been job searching for the past 2 months, every day. I've got one interview for a job with benefits, that's it. Really discouraging. Getting your first job out of school is usually the hardest it will ever be. Once you have some experience and a network, it gets way easier. If you live in or near a big enough city, there are likely meetup groups for your chosen field. I'd highly recommend going to those if you're able and meeting people. Much more effective a way to get your door in the foot. There's also lots of online groups centered around particular professions, but I've never personally got into those much. I think that there are 2 things making the job market look better than it is. 1, a lot of companies use job listings as ads, and many are essentially fake for various reasons. 2, it's really easy to feel like there are a lot of jobs out there. Say you search mid-level entry-level software engineer, let's say you get 20 applicable to you results, perfect. But you'll notice each of them has hundreds of applications. So that means for 20 seats, of how many which are fake or dead listings, there are hundreds of people trying to get each. And that's just say on LinkedIn. That job could be listed on a dozen other websites. I really think LinkedIn should kill that 200 applied thing because it's really disheartening. It took me 5 months after being laid off to find a contract position. I was seeing the same jobs posted over and over on LinkedIn. I'm still seeing some. They get hundreds to thousands of applications, yet the jobs keep reposting. Clearly, they aren't real postings. During my job search, I also had one position stop the process because of budget cuts. A month later, that employer did layoffs. I had a handful of companies ghost me after 2 rounds of interviews, and one of my former co-workers had an offer rescinded before his start date. Sure, this is anecdotal, but LinkedIn is also full of these stories, which shows my experience is not abnormal, and there is a lot more in the big picture job market than dumb articles like this take into consideration. Same for me, plenty of these stories over at Recruiting Help. People have spent months looking for work, never getting called or interviewed, and ghosted. Our job market is terrible, even for lowly customer service retail jobs. A lot of companies are actively not hiring, laying over hires off, and not paying better wages despite what some of these BS articles have said. Ever wonder why just about every fast food or retail store is understaffed? It's not because people don't want to work. Companies are just not paying or even really hiring. I've never seen anything like this in 20+ years of employment. In a weak job market, a recent college grad would spend 1 year applying for jobs to get one interview for a job with no benefits. At least that's how it goes for graduates in 2008 to 2010. Stop, you're giving me flashbacks. Yup, graduated 2008, spent the next 9 months cleaning cars for Enterprise Rent-A-Car and applying for jobs in my field. I was lucky and didn't have to start job searching until 2013. Still took about 200 applications over the course of about 9 months to get interviews at 4 places and get one offer for $35K a year in one of the most expensive cities in the country. My unpopular opinion is the general struggle for anyone fresh out of college that didn't do an internship. When I finished undergrad, it took hundreds of applications to get just one callback. The job I landed was a literal crap and paid $13 an hour. I think it's few and far between of people getting a job easily with a college degree and no experience. Tons of my friends had to go back to their retail jobs when they looked for actual work. Call me a skeptic, but I honestly struggle to believe the labour market is as strong as the numbers would indicate. I work in automotive and we recently had a company-wide layoff. My significant other works in healthcare and is working reduced hours at the moment. Maybe there is something else going on behind this. That's why they get this data from tons of different sources. Maybe your specific area is in decline while others are still booming. But cutting back hours in healthcare? That place is about to go under. What does your significant other do in healthcare? I can't think of a single area where it's not booming with skyrocketing wages in healthcare. We've got lots of jobs listed for unicorn candidates which I believe are still counted in these reports. They stay unfilled for months because said unicorn doesn't exist, but it's still an open job, but that's just a off-the-cuff observation from looking at job boards recently. This particular report has nothing to do with the job listings, it's people who applied for unemployment last week and so were probably fired. All the other reports and numbers point to a good job market. Jobless claims don't measure that. We should be seeing a meaningful uptick in filing for unemployment, but we're not. That and people are clearly far too focused on refuting real macroeconomic data with their own anecdotal evidence. What do you think about what you're seeing here with the job market? Are you bullish about it? Or do you think it has rough times ahead? If so, when do you think that will be?